Hello and welcome to Conversations. I'm Jim Blow, your host. Very pleased to have joining me today Josie Parker, the director of the Arbor Public Library. Welcome back to Conversations.
Thank you, Jim. It's a pleasure always to be here.
And it's been a while.
It has. Quite a while.
Quite a while. And a lot's been going on because we've looked at various issues. A couple quick sort of overview. In Ann Arbor, how many different libraries, branches are operational now?
Well, since Westgate expanded and reopened last September, 5.
5, okay. We have the main downtown library, and then 4 branch libraries.
Correct.
You mentioned Westgate or West Side at the Maple Village Westgate Plaza. Where are the other 3 branches then?
Traverwood.
Traverwood,
on the
which is
east side,
off
Traverwood and off Plymouth.
Right.
Malice Creek, which is on Eisenhower, and Pittsville, which is on Oak Valley, and of course downtown on 5th Avenue. Right.
And of the branches, are they all about the same size and offer the same opportunities?
The 3 freestanding buildings are approximately the same size, between 14 and 16,000 square feet. They're pretty much alike in their space offerings: one big program room, a reading room, a computer lab, and some small study rooms, and then the general open space for the collection, and then casual seating area for study. But Westgate provided us a different opportunity. So we expanded from 5,000 square feet at Westgate to 21,000.
Wow.
So Westgate now has, and we sublet to Sweetwater's. So
wow.
the coffee shop is integrated into the library. They're not separated. So that changed everything about that space. And we also have meeting rooms there that are small meeting rooms that seat 5 and 8 people, and they are requestable online.
Okay.
And so that
you can sort of reserve it.
Reservable online, or if you walk in and no one's using it, you can sign up and go in and use the space. That's been huge. Also, just the number of seats. I mean, it's doubled what we've offered any place else. The reading room is a very quiet space. It's much larger than the other reading rooms. So Westgate's the same as we've had, plus.
Okay.
So.
And then the downtown main library, space there because of issues related to what, electricity, elevator, all the things we've talked about over the years. Everything's still open though?
Yes, you know the library history better than I do now. It is open. We are rehabbing the first floor restrooms because we needed to, and so we did a porch project last year to make the entryway accessible, completely accessible, and then the bathrooms downtown, the first floor bathrooms need to be redone. We've arranged the collection, rearranged it entirely so that we can clear the floor and the first floor area for major programs, because we're having programs where 400 people come, and we have nowhere for that, no space. So we've moved the collection around so that we could accommodate that.
Is there still part of the collection on the main floor, or has it all been moved upstairs?
The teen collection is on the main floor. The DVD collection is still on the main floor. The new books, the new book collection is on the main floor. The art print collection and the tool collection, the art tools, science tools, music tools are on the first floor.
And that's something many people may not realize is it's not just books, DVDs, movies, those things that many people would turn to the library to get, but there are, you might say, specialty or secondary things that people can go and use there or check out.
Yes, and I have to say, though, that people still come to the library to check out a lot of books and DVDs and movies. They're still the highest circulating items in the collection. However, we did expand. Several years ago, the Astronomy Club asked us if they purchased telescopes, would we loan them?
Yeah.
And we said we would. And so we started out with that, and that was so popular, people started recommending other things: microscopes, sewing machines, guitar pedals, synthesizers, theremin, guitars, boom whackers, which is a percussion instrument that's plastic, and that little kids love, but professional museums use. I mean, professional musicians use. Excuse me. So that collection is growing and very, very popular, and I think that many people find out about it and are sort of taken
Yeah.
aback, but then when they come in, it makes total sense.
Right. Because you've been with the Ann Arbor Public Library since the early 90s, first, you say, working your way up, so to speak.
I came in 99.
99,
so that's a
okay.
working way, yeah.
It's changed as far as how people use it, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
In 99, I assume we had movies, DVDs, and music and all that.
We did.
But still, I would say, more books then, or
Oh, well, the
has it
collection,
sort of maintained?
the collection budget would have primarily been at that time spent on print, all print.
Yeah.
Not only monographs, but all print. And then before that, LP albums have been a part of the collection.
Right.
That went away, but now that's
Obviously,
back.
is that back? Okay,
That's back.
good.
We now
Good.
have LP in the collection.
Vinyl.
Vinyl.
Right,
Thank
yeah.
you. I think the word. I have to think about
Yes.
what I called it when back in the day. Vinyl. The DVD collection replaced the video cassette, and we still have the DVD collection. The CD, the music collection, is still huge. People still check out music on CDs a lot of times, and then the books on CD are still very big a part of the collection. But the use of the library is now far more than borrowing.
Okay.
And I think that premise that we loan is still a very much part of what we do, but it's not at all what many people do.
It's part of the community, and it's used as a community meeting space.
Yes, it is. And I can walk through Westgate or downtown or any of the others, and I can hear snatches of conversation. And I hear realtors talking to people who are looking at homes. I hear tutors talking with their students. I hear people in their knitting groups because they're sitting there knitting and they're talking. And then I had someone tell me 2 days ago that he goes to Westgate to do the books for his business. He has a business in town, but he takes his computer and he goes to Westgate. He gets there in the morning early, gets his coffee, and he sits there and does his books because he knows no one's going to bother him until he's done. Then he goes to his place of business. But he said, I had not used the library before.
Right.
Now I use the library, and he does use the library.
You mentioned coffee, and that's, I would think, is another change in that for my memory growing up is you couldn't bring in essentially any food or any liquid because the concern was getting spilled or getting... Now it's, as we said, part of the community is eating, drinking, and socializing.
Yes.
And that is allowed.
That is allowed. And in Westgate, food and drink are allowed throughout the space. There's no prohibition on it. Nor does it have to be purchased on site.
okay.
It can be brought in from elsewhere. That's why I said earlier pizza had been delivered there for teenagers studying in the program room.
Right.
I think that we allow food and drink in the branches, in the other branches, in the casual eating studying areas. We're talking about how we're going to change that based on our experience with Westgate. It's not the problem that libraries might have thought it would be. And so we're examining how.
I mean, one area that potentially would still be problematic is the computer labs, because in some ways liquid there can be viewed as potentially damaging.
Well, what it would damage is the keyboard.
Right.
And we have decided that we can afford a keyboard if someone dumps. That's right, because it's not a common thing for there to be that big of a spill.
Right.
Not really. Right. People are pretty careful at the library.
Right.
Yeah.
And with the computer labs that are in each of the different branches in the public downtown library, do you find the use of them having picked up or increased, or has it been fairly consistent? I would, as we could say, as prices have dropped down, I think more and more people have their own iPads or smaller versions.
It's consistent.
Okay.
It's been consistent. Pittsfield branch has never had the same amount of use as the others. I think it's about location, for one thing. But Westgate's computer lab is pretty busy. Mallett's certainly is. Traver Woods is, and downtown still is busy. And I think it's about who doesn't have access as using it at the public library, which is what we want to have happen, right?
Right. And in using of the different spaces that are now available, still have a lot of, you could say, children and parents coming in for do you still do a reading or
Oh,
story time
sure.
and special programs
Sure.
for children?
Yeah, story times are still a large part of what we do. And Westgate has exceeded all our expectations
Okay.
for use. It's seeing about 40,000 visits a month out there.
Wow.
It's huge. So story times are very much still very big in the public library. School visits, author discussions, author presentations. But we have another place in the downtown library I'll tell you about.
And when you mention that, and what is that special place in downtown?
It's called the Secret Lab.
Ah,
And it's in the lower level of the library. And
what used to be the sort of public meeting room.
well, no, it was
Oh,
was
okay.
where the Friends had their storage area and where they had their sales.
Okay.
And so the Friends store moved up to the lobby in the front northern corner. And we took the space downstairs and turned it into a huge programming room
Oh,
that
okay.
can be messy.
Yeah.
So there are crafts, robot classes, sewing classes, art classes, cooking classes. It's a classroom, but it's not set up like a classroom. It looks very
Multi-dimensional.
it's very much so. Yeah.
And that's for everything from adult to children.
Yes, and then some courses it's everybody at the same time.
Yep.
But it ranges, and we can get it. The floor can be dirty in there. It's not, I mean, spills and things.
Yeah. And is there still the public meeting room downstairs?
Yes, the multi-purpose
And that's
room.
the multi-purpose can sit or take?
About sitting probably 100,
Okay.
and
Standing?
120,
Okay.
and we regularly exceed that.
I want to say, well, you have authors come in, you've got community speakers and that, and I know there have been combinations, I think, with Michigan Theater at times. and
Yes,
with films and so
many
on.
partners.
Yeah.
We have so many partners, and we do a lot of programming with the U at our locations,
Right.
and we're very, very pleased about that. I mean, very interesting programs from the Depression Center on being a caregiver, what is bipolar illness, what is seasonal affective disorder. Those, interestingly enough, bring a lot of people come to the library to hear those. For researchers talk about medicine and
The most recent understanding and studies.
and health. The city is doing a series on sustainable cities, and the library is the location for that, and that is a very well attended event in the lower level. They've been doing that for the whole part of this last year. So we have exhibits still. A local artist
Right.
exhibit downtown and at Mallet, excuse me. And we've had the African American Cultural Historical Museum exhibit at Mallett's, which was fabulous. And then we had their annual meeting and the launch of their podcasts, the podcasts that we made of members who have lived in the Ann Arbor community since the 1940s.
Wow.
It was fascinating.
Well, we're going to take a short break, come back and see and hear what your sort of you and the board, their plans for the future might be. Ask our viewers to stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
I just wish there was some place I could watch my favorite local TV shows. Oh! Cool, where am I?
You are in a computer terminal.
Who said that?
I am the god of computers. I heard your wish and granted you access to my terminal.
Really? I've always wanted to be inside one of these things. So what's next?
Visit CTN's and the City of Ann Arbor's streaming and video on demand 82gov.org/watchctn.
What do I do there?
Here you can watch city meetings, community produced programs, school board and education programming, and a whole lot more.
Yes! This is great!
The live streams include CTN's 4 channels: government, public, educational, and community. Just click the sidebar for the channel you prefer and click play.
I can watch 4 channels. Cool.
The video on demand option lists city meetings and CTN series in drop-down folders for a quick and easy viewing process. Programs are listed by dates or you can sort by title.
Are you kidding me? I wish I knew about this earlier.
Visit 82gov.org/watchctn for CTN live streams and video on demand.
That's great. Now I can go tell my friends. Once I leave.
Goodbye.
Hello?
Hello and welcome back to Conversations. I'm speaking today with Josie Parker, the director of the Ann Arbor Public Library. And having been talking over the past 10, 20 years, at different times, the library has looked at whether it be a total, you might say, new building to major renovation, that some of the old structure underneath, so to speak, or behind the walls, need to get repaired. Are there still plans, even though there was a vote 7 years ago, did you say?
Six years ago.
To say, let's leave it the way it is. But still we are operating. You're still able to provide the services, but you still need to provide heat. You still need to provide circulation of air during the summer. An elevator works for those who need access. Where does all that stand? How does the board plan to address those issues, or have they been addressed?
The library board is made up of quite a few new people this year. The election in November brought 3 completely new people to the board, and elected a person who had been as appointed. Jamie Vanderbroek is the president, and Lynn Song and Colleen Sherman and Victoria Green were elected. So they joined Jim Leha, Edward Servell, and Jan Barney Newman. And that group of people has decided in the year before, the strategic plan had a major initiative to consider the place of the downtown library in its neighborhood. You know, it's a urban neighborhood. And so this board is starting the year, their first year, we're in the middle of it right now. There's a retreat on June 12th at Westgate, an all-day retreat the public's welcome to attend in the program room about this issue. So they have a facilitator and they have someone come in and talk to them about urban libraries, urban planning around libraries, and to talk through where to begin that conversation again. I mean, certainly we're able to heat it and cool it, but it has many, many deficiencies as a modern public building, and how those are addressed is up to this board and, of course, the voters.
Right. If there are significant, you say, expenses beyond the operational expenses.
Correct, and beyond what we're able to do now with the fund rehab.
And one of the things that people need to realize is, even though it's referred to as the library lot next door, it's not part of the library.
Not at all.
And so when they may have read or heard about money through the sale of the space or this and that, that has nothing to do with the ability of the library to do anything.
It isn't. It does not.
It will potentially impact the library, depending on what happens. You mentioned that meeting is occurring, or that retreat's occurring in June. Have they set any type of timetable, or is that one of the things that will be looked at in June, that if a decision is reached to modify, or what direction you want to go?
They haven't set any type of timetable or schedule. I think the retreat is the starting point for this group of people to pick this back up. And it's been 6 years since that bond failed, and so the libraries had to spend quite a bit of money on the downtown building in that time frame. That is not routine maintenance.
Right.
And so the question is now, how much more do we spend on a building like that isn't routine maintenance to keep it comfortable and operational and safe, functioning as a public library? And that's this library board's. They're taking this on.
Right.
This group of people ran as a group, the 4 people, and they ran on this issue of having a modern, efficient operation, well-designed library space in the downtown, without saying what that would
look
mean.
like.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, with being with the library for the past 17, 18 years, what's the biggest change you've seen both in Ann Arbor but in libraries in general?
I think it's, well, the fear that people had that technology would eliminate libraries, clearly, I'm happy to know I was right about that being wrong.
Yeah.
The concern that books would completely vanish, we haven't had that. I think in our community we see people use technology and read print material too and value it. So that is not a problem for Ann Arbor. That's not it is in some communities, but it is not for Ann Arbor. I think what we see in our community and what others are seeing is there needs to be a place where everyone can be together, and that we're craving it. And social media hasn't done a thing about that. That's still something people want, whether they're talking to the person in the room with them or not.
Table or not.
Is not the issue. Is that they're not alone, and they don't. And not being alone in a public space is something that we find that many people are seeking. So the libraries become that community connector physically, in ways that even we hadn't completely anticipated.
Right.
I mean, the use of Westgate and the way it's being used has been not only very validating and great to watch, but also a revelation.
And from that, one of the issues over the years with the downtown library is usage by whether it be the poor or by those who others sometimes felt threatened by. And it seems as if over the last couple of years that has been reduced for a variety of reasons, it seems. It's still a concern?
Well, yes, I think it's still a concern. I think that what the population that you speak of, who find it necessary to be in the library because they have no place else to be.
In the wintertime.
Right.
Yep.
And connectivity too.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's an issue with that, but there are other people who are housed, who use the library, who are troubled, and who who create situations where intervention's required. So it's not about a person's economics necessarily, although it's a factor whether or not they need more from us than is typical in the library. Drugs and the drug trade on the street has changed everything for all communities, and Ann Arbor is certainly not accepted from that. And the library sees it because it's an in and out place, and anyone can be in and out. So we spend quite a bit of our budget on security downtown, which is important and necessary so that you don't notice that when you're in there
that is being provided.
So you're comfortable in that space. I think that still is something Ann Arbor has to grapple with, but having more businesses, more people in an area helps with that a lot.
More traffic, more foot traffic.
All the time.
Walking by, walking in, walking out.
Right, it helps with that a lot. So the library has never been opposed to development around us. Right.
Well, you mentioned that. To what extent does the library either meet with or directly interact with, say, city council or the administrator in talking about some of the issues with some of the people that might use it, the whole issue of urban parks and the use of urban land has been a discussion in the city for the last couple of years?
I have been very fortunate to have had great relationships with 3 city managers who've been here in my time, and the current one, no exception. And also the police chiefs, all of them. And so we rely on the police heavily in the fire department in the downtown library, and I take my hat off to them every day. They're marvelous. And so those persons know our needs.
Yeah.
They're very supportive of the library. City council members are always interested in what decisions they're making and the impact on the library, and so they're open to that discussion. It's an open door. It's a back and forth. It's good.
One of the things that has changed in the downtown is the underground parking that was added now quite a few years ago. Has that helped the library as far as, I mean, one of the difficulties of a downtown library is accessibility by motor vehicle. And we can talk all we want about bicycles and encouraging people to use the buses and that. People still drive.
They do still drive, and except for those persons who want to be directly in front of the front door, there's
and along the side there.
There's plenty of parking.
Yeah.
And many people use the underground garage and comment on how glad they are, because in the winter it's so nice to not have to clean a windshield.
Right, yes.
Yep.
And it ends up being much, I would say, easier and safer and all the things that people are concerned about, because Ann Arbor does not often have underground parking. And that was when that was being proposed, was one of the concerns. Would people use it?
And they do.
And they do.
And
right.
they do, yes.
And you still have, what, a block away, the 4th and William parking structure. So you've got a fair access for people within a block or two.
And parking's still free on Sundays all through
That's right.
downtown.
Yes.
And people know that. So we have a good door count on Sundays at the downtown.
In looking into the next 6 to 12 months, what goals, what things do you hope to accomplish in this system itself?
Well, in the system itself, we have some projects we're working on with the rehabbing of the bathrooms downtown. We're going to do some more carpeting work in the downtown library. We're also doing some landscaping work, significant landscaping work out at Trevorwood that we needed to address, and that'll be finished up in the next 6 months. And then we're going to recarpet some branch, and so it's maintenance. I mean, the routine thing.
Upkeep, maintenance, and then continuing to have a high level
and some
of availability.
huge programs downtown. Tiny Expo, Mini Maker Fair, the A2 CAF, which is the comics
How can they
festival.
find out about these programs?
All at aadl.org.
aadl.org.
Yes.
I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure to have you back, and try and get you back maybe sooner to give us an update of what's going on and how successful different programs have been. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Sure. I want to thank our viewers for joining us today and look forward to your continued support here on Conversations. Thank you.